Hello, everyone, and welcome to Survivor Showdown. We are on our fourth episode here, and we have three panelists ready to debate and discuss all random topics of Survivor. With us first, we have one of our reigning Survivor Showdown champions. He won our very first episode. He's back. Mr. Kyle Minalt, how are you?
I'm doing good. Vote Stoner, vote Kyle in the org elections.
All right. Then we have next to him Ryan number one, aka Ryan Gomez. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Glad to have you on. And then Ryan number two, aka Ryan Leisman. How are you?
Pretty good. Got the cat.
And what is your cat's name?
Rosebud.
Rosebud. All right. So there's no conferring, so he can't help you with any of the
It's
debate
a she,
topics.
so
Oh, sorry, she.
shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. So, we're going to have 5 questions. Everyone's going to give their answers. You'll have an opening statement, then it'll be a free-for-all. You'll get to debate your points why yours is better and the others are not. And then you'll have a closing statement, and I will choose the winner based on 3 criteria: facts, creativity, and passion. So, if you guys are ready, let's begin with our first question. Which great player, in quotation marks, has the worst storyline? Which great player has the worst storyline? So, let us start first with opening introductions with Ryan G., then we'll move to Kyle, and then finally Rylis.
Right in the middle of that Ryan sandwich. Love it.
All right.
Best place you can be, I guess. All right. So for this question, I actually had some trouble figuring out because the person who I thought of, I didn't really know if you could classify as a great player, but considering how CBS kind of identifies great players as people who have returned more than once nowadays, I am just going with that and choosing Vytas Vaskauskas as my pick for greatest player with the worst story. Just on virtue that I think his storyline in both seasons kind of never really seems to stick, and I don't understand his legacy compared to other players you could really consider great. Vytas was brought in with Blood vs. Water with Aris, so his story is kind of focused solely on Aris in particular. And they try and go out of their way to really develop him more as, somebody with a bit of a drug abuse background, somebody who is reformed in his life, has established a better relationship with Aris, and then they build up on a rivalry between him and Aris during almost the entirety of the pre-merge of Blood vs. Water. Every time there's a physical immunity challenge, they're competing against each other. It ends up going really anywhere though, because the second they get on a tribe together at the merge, they just come together and then subsequently get voted out one by one, and also get eliminated from Redemption Island one by one. Vytas has a reputation of being, I guess, a little bit charming, if you will, considering that he's, supposed to have talked the women of Galang into keeping him instead of Laura Bonham and Kat and the post-swap challenges, but he ultimately benefits from pre-show alliances that have been confirmed. There's no way in hell Tina Weston or Katie was going to vote him out, considering their relationship with Aris. His storyline just doesn't really seem to match with what was actually presented. It kind of just feels false. There's no payoff to anything. And then he immediately comes back on the second chances with his built-in reputation as a competent strategist just to get voted out first over Abby Maria, of all people. I just think there's a lot of misconceptions with his character, and I think he has probably, of the players that people could maybe argue is great, has the worst story and most forgettable overall.
All right. Kyle.
When I think of great players, I don't think of first boots aside from Johnny Fairplay. I think of winners. I think of Kim Spradlin as a great player, but I feel like her story just came to an abrupt halt. Like the pre-merge, she was rarely focused on, and during the post-merge phase, she had little to no competition to deal with. You know, when you're going up against two guys who can't figure out which one of them wants to be Troy or Tarzan, and like the most confident person in that entire season was voted out at the merge as Jonas, and everyone else was kind of just a lackey. And like the season was built around her. When it comes to storylines, I just feel like her storyline. She's a great player, but she won't go down as one of the greatest players because of her lack of competition. I think her storyline brings forward that lack of competition to a big focal point in that season. Like, I mean, you got Colton over there running the Goof Tribe, and then you get the merge, and it's basically the Goof Tribe versus Kim. And you could see the writing on the wall from the moment that they vote out Jonas that it's going to be her. So her story just goes underdeveloped, and it's just like, oh, here's Kim, the perfect female strategist. And there's really nothing to be told there because it's just her picking off a bunch of goofs off the Goof Tribe.
All right, Rylis.
Okay, so I'm actually going to pick another winner. I'm going to pick Danny from Guatemala. The reason I chose that is for those, most people will probably be familiar, but for those who aren't, basically what happened was she realized that the producers were using the information she was giving from the confessionals, and Jeff was, quoting or using that information in the tribal council. So what she would do is she would very much try and hide everything from the cameras and give very limited information in confessionals. And what I would always argue is that you have two jobs when you're going on the show as a contestant. You're trying to win, but you're also trying to give a good TV product. And I would personally argue that she completely, willingly, by choice, chose to completely ignore that second part, the TV product, not caring. And I think that the season really suffers because of that. And also, I think the problem is there's no coherency to her storyline because of that, because they had so little to work with. And you just don't really care about her. Like, I don't know anything about her. So when she gets saved or whatever, or when she advances in the game because of these relationships, well, I don't know anything about that because we're not seeing them, because she willingly chose for us not to see them. So I would say that her storyline is very lacking, and it leaves a very unsatisfying finish, which to me is really important. I think it's really important for a season to end. It doesn't have to end on a happy note, absolutely not, but I think it does. You do need to have some sense of fulfillment or satisfaction. You need to understand why the winner won, and I think that with Danny, she put the producers into a position where there was so little story to work with, and thus the product of her story was very poor, very lacking, and not to mention, I do think that she's not a very interesting character or a person to start with. I don't think she's very interesting to listen to. So, yeah, that would be my choice.
All right, so we have Vetus versus Kim versus Danny. The floor is now open. Why is yours the best, and why are the others worse?
Okay, first I would like to say that, like I said in my opening statement, to consider a player great, you can't really put it on like a first boot player because he just barely made merge, and then he was the very first boot on his next season. Whereas my player made it all the way to the end in her first season, but her story was underdeveloped. On the point of an underdeveloped story, she gave the cameras enough information to build a story. They just didn't care about her story, whereas Danny didn't give it to her. And the product that was put out there was faulted by Danny herself, which is fine. But I feel like it's up to the producers to build a story for her, whether or not that she's there. And by her not giving them anything to build a story on, then there's nothing to do. There's no story to build. So it's not like she had an underappreciated story. She just didn't give a story to be told. Whereas Kim had a story, it just sucked. It was just a terrible story.
Yeah, can I interject on that? I think you make good points. What I would argue, though, is that for me, One World is such a bad season that I don't care.
It's a shitty story. Because it has a shitty story, right? Exactly.
Well, what I would say is that it becomes a lot less noticeable, and it kind of blends into the kind of shitty storytelling overall, as opposed to a better season like Guatemala, where it does stand out more, where you do have these really great characters that are giving you good confessionals and giving good stories, and then when you have the winner of the season having such a poor and underdeveloped story, I think it stands out much more. And in One World, it's like, who cares? Like, no one cares about, like, No one cares about
But
what
at least
happened.
the characters, people care about the characters because in Guatemala they don't even have any returnees except for the two that are the
Oh, who gives a
deputy
fuck
who
about that?
wasn't
Oh,
returning in
sorry.
that season. Whereas
Sorry.
the
Sorry.
people that are in
It's
One
fine.
World, they may not have the best storytelling, but I mean they're at least interesting characters. I mean,
Oh,
I hate to
no,
say
I
it and
completely
everything,
disagree with
but
that. No, I completely disagree with that. No one cares about who gets returned. That has nothing to do with. I mean, like all of that's all political. There's so many factors behind that which I won't get into. I don't think that should ever be the litmus test for who's an interesting character or not. Who if
I
they
think
get.
it. Oh, sorry.
No, I just think that like recency bias definitely plays a part in that and other factors. But I think that I mean, if you're gonna try and if anyone would try and tell me that One World is a gold mine for characters, I mean, or even is
Oh no.
no, I mean, I
no,
just
no,
think
that's
that
not what I'm saying at all.
no, I agree with that. No,
Like
I think you make
I
good.
get what you're saying. Like I definitely put Judd ahead of like Troyzan, 100%. Like I'm
Oh no,
not saying that, but I mean at least Judd has a story and they used his story and they had information. Whereas Troyzan, his story was good too, but it was the whole season was such a shitty story told that makes
that's what I'm trying to tell
winner's
you.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what that's the point I'm trying to make too. Is that last season had such a shitty story that even the winner's story was shitty, and it made the whole season shitty.
Yes,
Whereas your
but
story, even though the story of the winner is shit, the
once you
season
argue that
still
it
doesn't
becomes much
suffer.
less. What I'm trying to argue is that it becomes much less of a factor, and you don't even really care as much because the season itself is shitty, as opposed to one person bringing it down, particularly the winner bringing it down. To me, that is a much more of a loss, as opposed to me, One World is pretty much a foregone conclusion. It sucks.
Yeah,
From
but
the
at least
start,
you can salvage. But at least you could salvage Guatemala with the other stories. Whereas mine, you kind of needed a good story for the winner, and you just
The
didn't.
way I kind of refer to One World is that there is a clear agenda with it in regards to painting Kim Spradlin as an incredible strategist, and that is the focus of pretty much the entirety of the post-merge, which ultimately does. That's the reason why Kim Spradlin would be a definite contender. Honestly, she was one of the people I was really thinking of putting as my answer. My only thing that I think, only reason why I kind of am hesitant to actually imply her is because although, again, it relatively is, it's boring, but it's factual though. Kim Spradlin is presented as this amazing strategist, and she is shown to be that strategist.
Mhm.
And all the other tribe mates actually do talk her up, and I'd say she has at least some tension with Troyzan, at least to make her at least relatively interesting-ish.
I agree.
And at the very
Yeah,
least, it's honest storytelling, which,
I mean,
you know,
if you put the oldest, weakest wolf into a dog pack, it's going to come out on top. And that's basically what they did. They put a good strategist against a bunch of shitty strategists, and then they're like, "Oh, Kim's the greatest strategist ever." It's like, no, you put a wolf into a dog pack, and then wondered why the dogs didn't come out on top.
but I would also argue,
my,
see, for me, with One World, I think, even though I do dislike it, I think that it's actually, there's a little bit more conflict and tension than I think is remembered. I mean, if you watch the episodes, there is doubt. I mean, I don't think it's as inevitable. And also, I think the reason I would say Danny would be my pick is because with Kim, you see her clear relationships, and you actually see those relationships somewhat either come to fruition or falter.
the,
You know,
the
she
only
had
reason,
no, good.
oh, sorry. So the only reason, I was just commenting on Kim, so I was going to switch over to Danny. I also kind of I like your logic behind that too, especially considering Danny's confirmation about hiding information for the cameras. The reason why I'm hesitant to also say Danny is because even though with her attempts, though, I feel like she did present herself in some ways in some memorable cases, especially considering she has that relationship early on with Gary, where she knows that he is a former football, which I guess you can say is more of Gary's story arc, but she's involved with it. You can tie in she has a bunch of little moments over the course of the season. Her birthday, where she got all the tribe, she got both tribes to actually come together. She has her moment at the final six community where she ends up pulling an underdog and going the way. I don't really know. I'm not really saying it's a much of a storyline, but it's just honest storytelling comparably. My issue with Vetus in particular, and why I'm hesitant, considering it's how CBS defines it, I don't believe the returning rule makes somebody a great player, but it's how CBS kind of really is going with it. So therefore, by that token, I am referring to it and using Vetus as an example. And he just comes across as dishonest storytelling and just a completely forgettable character who shouldn't really. His storyline is boring and.
See, I actually find his storyline somewhat interesting. I think that it was presented. I think that definitely was milked. I think you could. I think that's my problem with the Blood versus Water season as a whole, is that you have these genuine you have these genuine things going on, but then they milk it for every ounce of drama, and it becomes very disingenuous to me, at least. But I do think that, especially in the beginning, I think that Vitas, he has some like legitimate he has some legitimate psychological issues and legitimate things that in his past that he's trying to work through. So I mean, even though I don't necessarily like the way it's presented, I think that definitely compared to the other two that have presented, I think definitely Vitas at least is a character per se. I think that
I would agree with that. Sorry.
I'm gonna close it there.
Okay.
We're gonna do closing statements. In it, try to be concise, but let's focus on the storyline, not necessarily great player or not, but what made your person's storyline the worst, whether that's lack of or things that made it bad. So we'll once again go Ryan, Sheik, Kyle, and Rylis.
Okay. I made a big deal just mentioning honest storytelling. I think in general with Kim Spradlin, she had a storyline, and although it was, I find personally boring, it was honest. And same thing with Danny regards. They're both sold as winners. Vitas' storyline has a lot of just no follow-up. Like, his rivalry with Aris immediately ends with them getting together and then, getting voted out subsequently. This idea of him being a charming manipulator with the Gong woman, that is false if you actually look into just the preseason alliances. And this idea that he's an amazing strategist. He gets voted off first and second chances with Abby Maria as the alternate choice. I find worst just in conjunction with just dishonest and boring. And I personally found his both. I know you may disagree about whether he's a boring character or not. It's just my opinion, and that's why I would agree he's the worst great character.
All right, Kyle.
Basically, I just want to say, with the Vita situation, when it comes to storylines, you're not supposed to have a storyline. You're the first boot. I'm sorry, it just doesn't happen that way. Secondly, with the Danny thing, she's the reason why she didn't have a storyline. It wasn't the producers. The producers looked at my character's storyline, Kim's, and they said, "Man, this sucks. We got to put something around it." And then they couldn't even do that. And they had nothing to go with it. By the time that they vote out Jonas, it's a foregone conclusion that Kim wins. And you can argue otherwise, but I just don't see it. And the producers are the ones that ultimately get to tell the story, and they saw what was given to them and still couldn't come up with a decent story, whereas Danny hid everything that she could to give them a story, so I can see why they wouldn't give her a story.
All right, and Ryan Leeson.
So I think the word dishonest storytelling was thrown out, and I think with Danny it's an example where the player is forcing the producers to create a dishonest storyline, because when you have such little content, and also not only the amount of content, but the problem is, I think of all the things that did happen that were probably really interesting and should have been shown, but were not caught on camera or were not revealed by Danny or by her decisions, the conversation she had specifically without the camera. So if you want to talk about storytelling, the whole job of a reality show is to document the players as close to 24/7 as possible. And when you take that factor out, really what you're doing is you're taking out the entire storytelling, the honest, truthful storytelling of the show itself, when you're leaving out parts, because really, it's a show first, and you have to create a product that is presentable to the audience. And when you willingly make sure that do a lot of things to prevent that from happening, I would say that the storyline suffers, and I think this is definitely a case. And also, I think that it leaves a big impact on otherwise what could be considered a good season.
All right. So I have a tough decision. So for me, Vita sort of got knocked out pretty fast, Ryan. I'm sorry about that. The other two sort of got you on some points. So it was really between to Kim and Danny for me, and I think Kyle. I think if we were going for which season sucked the most, you would definitely win. But I think the fact that Danny purposely, hid it so they couldn't even make a storyline and so that she
But
didn't have
is
one.
she a great character though?
Hey, let him make the judgment call. Go ahead. No.
Well, character's not in this at all. It says what great player and worst storyline. So, I think for all intents and purposes, I am gonna have to go with Danny and subsequently Rylis when you won the point.
Oh yeah.
Good job. Good point.
Thank you. Good discussion.
Yeah, it's sort of at some point it's just sort of evolved into one world sucks, and while I was not disagreeing, it didn't quite fit the whole of just the player and the story.
But it sucked because the winner's story sucked.
Well, to be fair, I think all the stories pretty much sucked. So, but
Cool.
boy,
One point
we
advantage.
really dropped that family-friendly podcast very quick.
I'm sorry, I can't.
At least it wasn't me.
Wait, what words can I say?
I'll tell you which ones you can't.
All right, let's move on to question number 2, and that is, what is the best merge episode of Survivor? So Survivor is known to have the merge episodes to be some of the greatest of the season. So I'm asking you, of all the merge episodes, which one is the best? This time, opening introductions, we're going to start with Kyle, then Rylis, and then Ryan G.
All right, so I must have got my answer in first, because if I didn't and these guys didn't pick this merge episode, they need to be slapped for something that needs to be done here. Because Cog Dion is by far the greatest merge episode of any Survivor season, and there isn't even a question. When you watch that episode live, spoiler-free, the very first time, is there any thought in your mind that Cass is going to flip on the or on the Brain Tribe? No. Do you think that Sarah's going home in that position? No. I mean, yeah, she Christies herself out, but that doesn't happen until 40 minutes into the episode. It's a complete blindside to the point where even the people that are on the person's side who's flipping don't know what's happening. They play both of their idols, eliminating both their idols, and then you go to then they're like, they pull out the vote and it's like, oh, it's Jeffra, and then you're like, holy fuck, they're going to vote out Jeffra, and they just wasted 2 idols, and the Brain Beauty little connection with Sarah is going to take over, and then all of a sudden, boom, Cass's vote comes out, and you're like, oh, she just did that. She just did that. And you never saw it coming. If you watched that episode, spoiler-free, when it was live, there is no way that you could pick Sarah was the person that was going out until the very last moment when it went Jeffra, Sarah, and then Cass's vote comes out. The whole time you're thinking it's Jeffra because everything that happened in that episode, everything led up to it, and if you really paid attention, you could tell that Cass was going to flip, but it didn't make it clear. It never made it clear until the vote was read. And that's why, because of the suspense, because of the immersion of characters, because of the development of the entire season breaks down after that, and you find out what happens from that moment forward.
All right. Rylis.
Cool. Good pick. The Kagayan, that's definitely up there. For me, I chose Borneo. And the reason I did that is because of the historical significance. I think there's been a lot of good merge episodes, but I think that that one in particular, I think, is one that absolutely completely defined the game. If you were to pick one vote, that would be the most important vote in the history of the game. Because before that, you have these two philosophies. You have these two philosophies of how to play the game: alliances or just voting your heart, voting your conscience. And especially me being 7 years old watching the show, it's like, well, which one's gonna win? Everyone in America, was really uncertain of how the game would play out and how it should be played morally, ethically, strategically. What was the best way to play? And well, before the vote, you have first off, what I love about Borneo is you have this freshness. The players have no idea how the thing's gonna go. It could. It's so innovative. It has this really great, inspirational, it just gets me so happy when I watch all of Borneo, but particularly like those really new moments like merging for the first time. You merge the tribe, you get some good character scenes. I think the challenge is really cool. I think the hold your breath underwater is pretty awesome, and then the getting the buoys or whatever they have to do. They have to dive deep and unplug something. whatever. And then of course, the vote, which I think is just absolutely like I can. I mean, I was only 7, so I can't remember as much, but I mean, just the collective shock of the American people watching that, because pretty much, like, I think 7 people get votes in total. Everyone votes for like a different person. Everyone gets so it's like one vote, one vote, one vote, one vote, and then a Gretchen comes up. We don't think anything of it. A second Gretchen comes up. Okay, it's starting to get a little suspicious. And everyone is just, I just love the look on everyone's faces. Just like you could tell that history was being made for the game in that moment right there. Just the shock. And then the third one comes up, and Gretchen famously says, "It's me." She had no idea she was going on, because if you look at how the past votes have been going, she was the leader. She was the moral. She was the spirit. She was the heart of the team. Why in the world would she be voted off? There'd be, from that perspective, there's no reason. But, the Alliance came together. They voted as a group of 4, and they voted her off. And I think from that point on, that right there really defines the strategy and the way that the game's going to be played. And it showed that, these two philosophies, one ended up ultimately winning out. And I think that overall the episode is just really well edited, really well constructed. Really, you get to hear from pretty much everyone really equally. And I just think the end result is absolutely historical and really, just really, a really great hour of television.
All right, Ryan.
All right. Another really good choice. A little bit more popular choices. I have a bit more of an unorthodox choice, but this kind of just fits from my own personal standpoint. Then I personally would recommend that, like, my favorite merge episode actually be the one from Africa. On virtue of, what I'm a big sucker for is, I'm not really too big of a fan of like the strategy focus or whether I find a boot shocking. What I'm really a sucker for is much more like in just character moments in general, and the Africa season in general, but the merge episode in particular is downright greedy with its moments and its general character interaction. You have the gigantic cluster. Screw it. The clusterfuck that is Samburu finally, really getting back together again, and Boran just meeting up with each other. It's just a giant collage of just different series of moments. You have the infamous one with Frank, pretty much, with Never Have I Ever. You have him not knowing what a brunch is. You have him trying to communicate with animals. You have Lex being a giant douche about the word Uber, and Kelly Goldsmith just ranting about him, talking about Frank needing meds.
Uh-huh.
You have Teresa Cooper's real breakout moment where T-Bird, in the immunity challenge. You have Brandon clapping when Frank gets out of the immunity challenge, and also Brandon subsequently bitching about that he never liked Lindsay to begin with. It's just greedy in regards to its character-defining moments. In regards to the overall story of Africa, it really is a good tie end of everything, because this is the subsequent ending of Clarence's story over the beginning of the season, with him finally getting booted because Boran died was too untrustworthy. But ultimately, at the very end, with Teresa's vote to Lex, with the stray votes, that sets the tone for the entire rest of the season and ultimately shapes it, ultimately leading up to the very next episode and the subsequent season. I feel it sets up the rest of the season very well, is a good follow-up to the previous 6 episodes, and just in regards to the story and the characters involved in it, it's just so greedy. It's so perfect. It's what I want in any episode of Survivor.
All right, so we have Cagayan versus Borneo versus Africa. Fight it out.
All right. First, I gotta say this. We're talking about greatest merge episodes, not most historic merge episodes, because that's fine and dandy, all the historic relevance of Borneo, but like 7 people got votes. Like, how is that even good? Like, 1-1-1-1-1. Like, that's not how you play Survivor. That's not right. Like, yes, that defines how you play Survivor.
I also would like
right.
No. Hold up.
I also would like to say another thing in particular in regards to.
Yeah. Let me go ahead. Sorry, I have to talk about that because that actually. Okay, first off, you just said that's not how people play Survivor. How the fuck? Oh, yeah. How the fuck are they supposed to know how to play? They had no precedent. So your statement right there is I mean, it makes no sense because.
I mean, you were 7 years old. You were 7 years old at the time. You had to have realized that if more than 3 people stuck together, that they would have had some sort of a majority vote over the rest of the people. So, like, it's obvious. Like,
no, it's not obvious.
To say they had no president.
Absolutely not. It's not obvious because here's the thing about that, and I think this is a big thing that often gets forgotten, is the ramifications, because it was considered cheating. It was considered, it was considered playing the game in a dishonest way from that perspective, and that's how a lot of America felt. So
no
you
one
have
did.
what are you talking about? I was there. Like you look at if you look at any newspaper back then, any article, Time magazine, there's definitely a consensus. There's definitely
Survivor pushed a media balance of, oh, this is you don't want to do this, you don't want to do that. But if you look at the game for what it's worth, you have to get to the end. In order to get to the end, you have to build an alliance with somebody. Yes, Richard was the first person to figure it out. No, he wasn't. Everyone figured it out. Everyone was just too stupid to do it. You could see in the episodes, people are like, oh, should we align with each other? Oh, no. I mean, Dr. Sean at one point goes, if they vote together one more time, I'm going to know it's an alliance. And God damn it, man. They voted together
I think you're looking at it too
times already.
I think you're looking at it way too simple. I think that
with the episode itself, like with the episode itself, like it's cut and dry. Like at the very beginning of the episode, the four Toggy get together and like, yeah, we should probably get rid of that Gretchen. And they're like, yeah, we should probably get rid of her. And then eventually they get rid of her. It's so simple.
But that's the thing you're thinking about. I mean, like, yeah, we know, and that's okay, and that's something that old school Survivor would often do. It's not about like fuck this whole idea of like the blind side. It's not about that.
I want to go. I can take that point really quick.
Sure.
When it comes to when it comes to just general episodes in general, especially when you start factoring in rewatches, I don't really know if necessarily whether a boot was shocking or not really should matter at all in the equation, especially if it was live. Taking out just on the fact that once you start actually looking at the storytelling of the season, sometimes shocking boots just occur because they just didn't want to they want to actually develop the story too well in particular. I don't
but
really.
That's not the case in Cagayan. That's not the case in Cagayan. They come together. They merge together, right? And then they have the freaking the top 5 baby alliance versus the 3 beauty or the 2 beauty, Sarah, and the 3 brains. And the entire half the episode is Tony trying to talk to Sarah and be like, swear on your badge, because he's trying to get Sarah. They just can't get her. They can't get her. So at the very end of the episode,
what I was going at in particular was I'm talking in
the entire episode is its own story, and it is that way because of that specific moment in time in that merge. That merge creates its own story for that one boot, which in turn creates the story for the entire season, therefore going forward. And if you look back, even like you go rewatch or whatever, you can ask a number of people on any number of communities what their top 5 seasons are. And a lot of them, and I'd say at least 75% majority, yeah, they're going to put Borneo in there, but that's historical purposes. They're going to put Cagayan in that top 5. And why are they putting it in there? Because of the way it played out post-merge. Why did it play out that way post-merge? Because of the merge episode itself.
All right.
Logic behind
Ryan, go ahead.
Me? Was that me? Sorry.
No, Ryan G. Sorry.
Okay, good.
Oh, wait, is it a concluding statement or is this?
No, it's just.
Oh. My logic behind I wasn't really trying to say that Cagayan wasn't like dishonest storytelling, but my point was I was getting into in a general statement. I don't think that whether a boot was shocking or not should be taken into consideration whether the episode was good. Which whether or not the Sarah boot was shocking or not, I don't believe that should actually matter into whether or not it was a great merge episode or not, or a good episode in general.
Not?
It was a good episode, but I don't.
I think it's a factor. But it's not.
I think it's a huge factor.
I think it's a factor.
When I'm watching Survivor at home, and I know what's going to happen, I go and get a drink. I don't stick around. Like I go get a pop. Like you know what I mean? Like.
What about the character development? What about the storyline?
I'm not saying whether or not
there's plenty of character development. You find out that Cass is willing to make that move, that she's a cutthroat player.
But that's all voting phase.
That she's on the bottom. No,
when we're talking about what's going on in the Cagayan merge episode, I just have a question. What's really Jeffra doing? She's the option boot target. What's her story in this episode other than just kind of existing? Where's Jeremiah in this? Where's LJ in this?
What's the story of the 7 other people that got votes in freaking Borneo? What's the boot?
They're shown. They're consistently shown. You hear from them and you hear their perspective about everything.
You see Jeffra.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
I'd actually like to was not attack, but the lesser form of that. I'd like to the Africa Boot episode. I actually do think that's a good pick. That being said, I unfortunately don't think it's one of the best, and there's a lot of reasons for this. I think it's a great episode, but it's surrounded by, in my opinion, Africa's two best episodes, episodes 6 and 8. And I think it's a solid episode. I think you get some good character moments. I absolutely love They Never Have I Ever Seen. I think that will always make me laugh. But it's not very, to me, it's not gripping. I think it's definitely a solid episode, but it doesn't, it's not like super satisfying. It's not super fulfilling. I don't think anything really like major big happens. But I just don't think that it has that same like oomph factor that
To
the
be
other
honest
two
with
have.
the Africa episode, I don't remember it very much. It didn't stick out to me. That's why I'm not really going with it, because it's just not something that it didn't. It's like I get the Never Have I Ever. I've watched it 1,000 times. It's just not something, like you said, 6 and 8. The episodes surrounding it are just so much better. So I
Yeah,
just don't see that episode.
and also
That episode doesn't stand out to
yeah,
me.
and then to attack the Kage merge episode, because I also really like that episode, but I do think that in terms of, I think it becomes so focused on the vote, it becomes so focused on the results, and I think that along the way, the process, because for a merge, I think it's so much more. It is really a criticism I have of modern Survivor in general, is it becomes way more about the result, about the vote, about the game, and then you start forgetting about the people, because when I like a merge, I like to see how these people are interacting, and not in a strategic way, but just in a personal way. How are they connecting in terms of two people from two very different walks of life? How are they connecting? And I think that because of the strategic aspect of the
You,
Kage merge, I think that you
you get that
lose.
all.
No, good.
You get that all. You get that all with Trish. You get that all with the whole Tony and Sarah swearing on your badge scenes, where it's like, Sarah
That's
won't
before.
swear on your badge
But
to Tony. That's
but
all.
that's
That's the merge episode. That is the merge episode.
but
She
that's not
asked
really.
Sarah.
But that's more strategy. Do you see what I'm saying? Like
No, that's a character development, because you
But
not
that's
find
really.
out that
also
Sarah's willing to put her game on the line for her badge, which is a character development. That shows you
Uh,
what type of person
But
she
my
is.
point,
no, good.
but again, where is part of the cast in Kagayan? Jeffra is again the boot target. If the Sarah boot is supposed to be a shocking, Jeffra should at least have some development, so that way we care about her possibly getting voted out. Why?
I mean,
I don't.
Jaffa was never a character in that season. It's not about her as a
Sure,
character.
but in Borneo, all
She's
10 of
never.
them
She was never.
in
Yeah,
Africa, all
and
10 of them are
I
characters.
understand that, but it's not about them in that episode. It was about
Yeah, but
Gretchen, and she
but
was the focus of
But I
that
would use it
episode.
as a reason
I
to
know,
say
but
why
then
subsequently
All
you-
right, I'm going to
The
cut it off
focus.
here. All right, we're going to go with closing statements. I need you to, in your closing statement, just as concisely as you can, list as many reasons why your episode is the best. We'll go Kyle, Rylis, and then Ryan Chi.
Okay, basically, my episode is the best because, like it's been pointed out, it's right now in the Survivor seasons. It's a strategic era of Survivor where a lot of strategy is going on, and this episode has a lot of strategy in it. But it's also that strategy is disguised as character development. In the Sarah boot, Tony and Sarah, where she's swearing on her badge, or she won't swear on her badge, and Tony sees that as like, okay, I get it. I can see that the perception level is there. She's not going to do that because she won't swear on her badge. She knows this from her because she swore on her badge before, very easily for him. And then you have the part where you get that development. Trish goes to Cassius. She's like, I see that you're kind of in a dire situation right now. You're on the bottom, and I want to help you. I want to work with you. And then they build something that is probably that ends up being one of the greater moments later on in the season between them two. And then you have just the whole moment of tribal council. The merge episodes come down to who gets voted out that night. And yes, shocking is an important statistic when you're talking about whether an episode is good or not. If you're not excited about the episode, you're going to walk away from it. You're going to turn the channel. You're going to watch something else. You're going to get a pop. When they start reading the book, when they ask, do you want to play your idol? And then Tony gets up, yeah, I want to play my idol on my boy LJ and LJ. Yeah, I want to do something to Tony's backside. I don't know what he said, whatever. Cover Tony's ass is what he said. And gives the idol to Tony, and you're like, okay, well, they weren't even talking about Tony. They're going with Jeffra. So whatever. They just do that, and then the vote ends up being shocking. Like, everyone in the cast is shocked. Everyone at home was shocked live. It was just a shocking episode, and that's what makes it so great. That they
All right.
so shocked at this.
Rylis.
Cool. So yeah, I think that I stick by my answer. I really think it's overall from start to finish a superb episode. I think the fact that you do get to really get the perspective of everyone in the cast, I think is really important because I really feel like I'm getting a full experience. What I love about Borneo is that you really feel like you are getting a completely honest, very raw, uh, you know, um, version of what's going on. They're not trying to overly dramatize things. They're not putting in that shocking, they're not putting in that, sensationalist music. It's just presenting it how it is, and you really connect to the characters. I think overall the cast at that point, all 10 of them are absolutely phenomenal, larger than life characters. And while Kaguyan does have some really good characters, I would say that there's only like three or four, maybe three or so of them. And I would say in Borneo, I really think like all those characters are really fantastic characters. You get their perspectives, and then you get to that vote, and I really don't think it can be undermined how huge of a moment that vote was. It's the vote heard around the world. And I think that, the episode that is attached to it, it definitely deserves a lot of credit, not only for being a great episode product itself, but for the amazingly long impact that vote has made. I mean, if you want to say that you love, if you say you love Survivor, well, that episode is where the game really was birthed, or was the game really came into fruition in that moment. The game that we know today for 32 seasons is because really that moment, among other reasons, not just that moment. But I think that it's a very important thing, and I think that the episode is an extremely strong episode.
All right, Ryan G.
Right. Again, just on virtue of, on just strictly episode quality, I still firmly stand by my pick and say that Africa Merge is the funniest. Africa Merge has the most character interaction and just single moments. Maybe doesn't have anything necessarily flashy that happens in it, but I necessarily wouldn't think that would make a good episode. I actually really cared about all the characters that were presented in the Africa Merge, and it both sets up the season for the rest of the ride. And I still disagree. And compared to the other two, the Africa Merge episode's kind of obvious. Once Clarence gives up immunity, you kind of can get an idea he's probably gonna be the one voted out. Having said that, though, I still stand by my point. Shocking factor doesn't actually matter, especially once you're talking on a rewatch factor. In regards to, let's say last season with Cambodia, the Andrew Savage vote where Kelly Wentworth plays her idol, was that shocking? Yeah, I thought it was shocking. Do I care about that episode? Not really. I don't really think it necessarily matters, and I stand by the fact that Africa just focuses on a straight Tory. It's straightforward. Clarence is going to end up getting voted out, but it focuses on the individual character moments and sets up the season based off what's been given and what's going to come from it after. I think it represents what a Merge episode should be in Survivor and what any episode should be. That's why it's my pick for the greatest episode. It's a very good standard episode.
All right. Ooh, another really tough one, guys. You're making this hard. So, for me, I guess how I'm looking at it, you all had some very good points, and you all had some very different points as to why yours is better than the others. So I have to look at it like who had the most points as to, stacking it up as why theirs was better. So looking at that, Kyle, I felt in your argument you focused a lot on the blind side and sort of the strategy / character development. So I gave you like two there. And I think, Ryan, you said you had character interactions, the setup before and after was good, and then you also said funniest. But I think Riley's got it again. He said the huge moment, the even perspective of the characters, the cast, the challenges. He talked about pretty much the whole episode, and I'm going to have to give the point to him.
There.
This is very close, though.
See, I want to complain, but I like the Borneo Merge episodes. I really can't.
Oh, I like all three of them. That's the point, honestly.
I just don't understand where historical factor came into it. Wasn't part of the question, but yeah, I get it.
For me, that was just one slight check. So it wasn't like, it's historical, that's why it was the best.
Well, if we were going to go with most historical merges, I would have picked Borneo as well.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That wasn't the factor of why I picked. It was because of the list of everything else. So yeah, it wasn't just historical.
No, it's cool. We don't need history. You don't remember Africa, so it's okay. Don't worry about it.
No, I remember Africa.
I'm
I just
joking.
didn't. That episode just didn't ring anything.
Oh,
for me.
yeah.
Yeah, never have I.
Yeah.
Never have I ever. I mean,
I still stand by my
not
point.
even,
I still
it
think
wasn't even that funny. It wasn't even that funny.
No, Ryan Gomez, I really like your
But
pick.
yeah,
That's a really creative pick. I appreciate you for not going for an obvious one.
no, thanks. I mean,
All right.
again, I got harsh on Calgagon, but I do love that merge episode. I'm just.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. They did sort of gang up on you, Kyle.
Well, we had to because he was gonna freaking win, you know.
no, that's fine.
All
I
right.
get it.
So
I get it.
I mean, you got 2 points now, so.
the 4th episode of Survivor Co-Wrong just aired yesterday. And we had this, big moment. 3 people down at the challenge. One of them had to be evacuated. And there's a lot of talk on the internet now of, oh, the producers did something wrong. Why did they even let this happen? Who's at fault here? Is it the contestants' fault? Is it the producers' fault? Is it no one's fault? So the next question is, what should Survivor have done regarding the Co-Wrong Reward Challenge? And so they submitted their answers ahead of time, so I'm gonna read them just so everyone knows, because they can sort of blend together. So I want to show what the differences are. So you still have your opening statements, but so Rylis, you're gonna go first, and your point was that they needed to change the challenge, not do that type of challenge for it. Ryan G, you talked about canceling or postponing the challenge, knowing the weather and what it was like, and needed to either just not have that challenge or move it for a different day. And Kyle, you talked about as soon as Debbie went down to stop the challenge right there, and don't continue on with it, making it even worse. So so I wanted the audience to know what the differences were. So we'll start with Rylis, then go to Ryan G, and then Kyle.
Yeah, so my argument is that, I think that, well, first off, the weather in in Koh Rong is so hot in Cambodia that, I think they said it's like 110 or something on average, which is just absolutely insane. But the thing is, most challenges, they go pretty fast. I mean, what we're seeing is, for the most part, it's happening somewhat in real time, maybe 5-7 minutes. I mean, that one, I think it's the extension of the fact that they were right under the sun, no shade at all, digging, which can very likely go for an extremely long time, and how excruciating that is. I think that is the reason that it caused so many people to go down, because normally you would just, yeah, you're hot, but you do it for 5-6 minutes, whatever. Maybe you're in the water or something, and you do it, you're done, you do the puzzle, you're gone. But it's the fact that they were just in there digging. It's so absolutely excruciating. All the water is leaving your body, so you're extremely dehydrated. Yeah, and I have a feeling they'll wise up, because here's the thing. We don't want to see people in pain. We don't even really want to see them suffer. We just want to see the challenge. And I think there's a very fine line. And I think that in this case, I don't think they did it on purpose, but I do think that there were warning signs, and I think that they need to, take heed of the fact that these types of challenges really do cause that. Yeah.
All right, Ryan.
Okay. No, I pretty much mirror a lot of the sentiments in general about the challenge and the heat and the dehydration. My standpoint was, I partially get it with Survivor in regards to the fact that they, are very stuck with their challenges in regards to if they already wasted the time building them, they're not going to they're going to probably you're going to use them in general. What I think really should have been done was they should have been more aware of the heat index of the day, and possibly just move back the challenge to another later date, or potentially just extend the time later, maybe make it more of an eveningish challenge. I know it might not necessarily have as good cameras or something like that, but just on virtue of the fact that I don't think the challenge was the necessary problem, just on virtue of the heat, because in general, since Survivor runs through challenges that I will look through at times and just kind of wonder how I would do during them, and whether or not I would, pass out, or whether something. I don't necessarily think the challenge itself is the problem, just the time of day that they actually really went about it. I think In particular, if you're going to have them digging a lot heavily in the sand, you want them not to have the sun over their head. They should have been more aware of this, especially after Samoa. When I know Russell Swan's case was revolving around work like kind of work back at camp, but you can still make a point. You know that dehydration in particular has potentially killed somebody. They really should have been more aware of just the nature of the sun. If they want to, I do think that they could have probably canceled the challenge, but if they were really dead set on doing it, they should have moved it back to a later day, or just waited till later when it was like maybe later in the evening when you don't have to factor the sun's heat as a possible case. I do admire the way they responded once Caleb and Sydney all passed out, but I think this could have easily been avoided if they just paid more attention to the heat index or just moved it back later.
All right, Kyle.
Okay, basically you can't move the challenge once it's they're not going to move the challenge because there's so much time that there's only so many days. Every 3 days you have to have vote out, so you can't move it. You can't even go a little bit later in the day because of production values. You can't just cancel the challenge outright because it's a challenge, but it was a reward challenge, and that's all it was. It was a reward challenge, and the very first reward had already won. Debbie won, so she passes out. And they should have shut it down right there before things went wrong, and they should have, just basically said like, all right, you know what, this minor little tiny bit of reward, split it between the other two tribes if you guys want. It's not like it's precedent setting. They've done it before, I believe, even in this. I'm not sure which challenge it was, but I think it was the small one. When Russell goes down, they're like, hey, you know what, it's just a reward challenge. You guys want to split everything and go back to camp? And everyone would have been like, yeah, let's split everything, go back to camp. And Caleb doesn't almost die. And that's basically my only reason is like once Debbie hits the dust, like they do in every other reward challenge where someone bites the dust and basically dies, they stop everything. They didn't even stop the challenge this time. They're like, oh, Debbie's down, don't worry about her. She's good. You guys keep doing your thing, whatever. Like, they would have stopped it right there. Debbie was fine after they stopped it, so everyone else should have been at least fine. Give them some water to stop it. Hey, you guys take half of the secondary reward. You guys take the other half. You guys are going to be merged tomorrow anyways. What the hell? What's the difference, right? So that's my basic point is like once Debbie went down, cut her off before things go wrong.
All right. So it is now up for grabs.
In regards to how I think, in regards to the production value, I get it. It would be difficult to extend the challenge back to a later date or potentially just extend it to a later time. But I think just the sheer, it's not too difficult to pay attention to the fact that the heat index is probably ridiculous that day, in particular compared to others. And I get it. It would cost maybe some money or some production difficulties, but I think the potential livelihood of Caleb and, well, really, why am I saying Caleb? Really, any of them should have overstayed that value. I think that yes, they handled it. I do like your answer. I do think that I like the idea of them just stopping the challenge right after Debbie passes out, but I think that would have been too. I think that if I would have a say in it, I would have just gone before that. I would have just straight up moved the challenge because I feel like that is just.
But then you have to bring in lighting, then you have to freaking bring in extra people around, and you have to make sure that the whole area is set for if in case the sun goes down a little bit. It's not like it's going to get that much cooler. They're still going to be working hard. And you're going to want to go with the challenge. You got to put stuff. You have to have a schedule, and you have to stick to that schedule. Because if you don't stick to that schedule,
that's not true though.
I partially do agree with that, but my whole logic is that I do think that the moment Debbie passes out, although it's a good reaction time, I just think it probably should have been sooner, which therefore I think needs to occur during the production standpoint before the actual challenge. They should have done something at the moment.
You don't know something's going to happen until it happens, and once it happens, that's when you should shut it down. But if you have to prepare for the worst, but expect the best, or something like that. I don't know.
In fact, they've moved, and I know this pretty much for a fact. They've moved around challenges a lot. All the time things get altered. They have to switch things. The weather sometimes, oftentimes they have to move stuff because of the rain or because of the wind. Stuff, for safety reasons. If the wind was blowing too hard or whatnot, give or take, they move stuff around. And also they cancel challenges. There's sometimes challenges that don't even get. at all because
my also thing is that what I would recommend.
They definitely do all that stuff, but I mean, if they're going to do the challenge, if they're going to go with the challenge, if they're going through with the challenge, once somebody drops, it's time to stop the challenge. Like, I get the whole, they should have canceled it, they should have done this, but once you hit that point where somebody has hit the ground, it's time to stop, boys. It's just reward. It's just reward here.
I know, but I think it's a little different. Like, I think if she had passed out during the challenge, like when her tribe was in the challenge, they would have stopped it 100%. But I think because of the fact that
she was...
I disagree with that. I agree more with it. I agree with... No, I think that he is right. The second Debbie passed out, they should have canceled the challenge period for both Beauty and Braun. The only thing I'm arguing is that it should have occurred before then. Like, before the challenge even began. Having said that, at that precise moment, that's what they should have done. I just personally think that, in a general sense, this could have all been a mess avoided if they had just had better planning with the challenge. And you are right that they can move challenges. That's why I, move challenges around. That's why I do believe they could have done this on a day that's a little bit, expected cloudier forecast.
But you're not going to wait 3 days to do a reward challenge just to wait for some clouds. And you're not going to cancel a challenge outright just on the off chance that someone might get dehydrated. I mean, it wasn't that bad. It was literally sitting there digging. I mean, like, I've dug before, and it's not... Like, they took 45 minutes because they were taking lots of breaks. Like, I get it. I get it's hard. But, like, once someone goes down, like, they weren't expecting it. Like, I'm just saying from a production perspective, I get that they're not... You don't need to talk. You got 2 points anyways. But the point is, it's like, we have... So my point is that we have this situation where somebody has gone down. Yes, you can move the challenge. Yes, you can cancel the challenge and everything like that. But, I mean... You're doing the challenge. They did the challenge. They're going through with the challenge. Once someone drops, this should be the end of the challenge. It's only for reward. It's not going to make that big of a difference. I mean, it's not that harsh. And like I said,
I'm not
looking at the challenge from an outside perspective, you're looking at, okay, they're going to dig some stuff up and they're going to play some ski ball. Like, I get it. I've dug in the heat. I know what it's like. But like a producer who just sits there in his office and does nothing, it's going to be like, they're digging and they're throwing ski ball. They'll be fine.
I would disagree, again, though, like, just on virtue of the fact that Russell Swan, who is considered probably has one of the most horrifying like general medevacs, his case was involved with dehydration. I think they should have been more aware of that, especially this would, like, even if they're not actually like thinking like actively, like, huh?
They had Flint, they had water, they could have drank lots of water before that challenge. They can't be aware of the dehydration levels of every contestant. I mean, some of the contestants
they should just,
because they were hydrated.
But here's the thing, it's the exertion, I think, is the fact, and I think that it's the, like, it's the extended amount of constant exertion.
Yeah, so once they reached that point where someone dropped, they should have ended it.
But correct me if I'm wrong, weren't they both done digging? Or no, I think one of them was done digging. No. They were doing the ski ball.
Everyone dropped after the ski. Everyone dropped after ski ball was over. It was all after.
If you want to refer to the actual exit interviews from what Caleb said today, he passed and he said that he was feeling an adrenaline rush with the ski ball, and so after the adrenaline rush faded away, he passed out because then his actual body could respond appropriately.
Yeah, I think that I think that they looked at Debbie dropping as an unusual case, not what was expected. What I'm trying to say is, I think that and they even mentioned the fact that she is so skinny and that she has such little to go off of, and I think I remember reading just recently
let him finish.
Yeah, the reason. I think so. They couldn't have. I don't think they could have necessarily predicted that would be another occurrence, that another person would necessarily pass out. So I would say I think they took the right course of action because of the fact that she had already finished the challenge. Let them play out the challenge, and
Alicia was skinnier, smaller, and weighed less than Debbie did, and if they didn't take her if they didn't take Debbie, she was small, then they should have looked at Alicia and been like, she's pretty small.
I know, but
the challenge.
But she looked fine. I think what they.
But Alicia was cheerleading.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she was still in it, right? Like she's still.
God.
I'm just saying, like.
But I think what needs to be noted is the fact that, and I don't know this because they didn't show this, but I have a feeling that after Debbie passed out is that they did take a much closer look at the contestants. For example, Alicia, she seemed totally fine. She didn't seem like she was in danger of passing out. She's cheerleading. No, I know, but what I'm trying to
They
say
didn't,
is,
they didn't even be like, everyone stop, let's have a little break,
I know,
let's check your blood pressures and then go back.
but here's
They
the thing.
just
I
let
think
him go.
that's what I'm trying to say
I
is my
gotta fight
point.
you because you got so many points. I'm
It's
gonna
okay.
keep interjecting on
But
you as much as I can.
going off of what Ryan Gomez was saying, like, Caleb, to me at least, he looked totally fine. Like, from watching it, he looked totally fine while he was doing the skee ball, whatever thing. I didn't detect any signs of. I didn't. Well, at least I didn't see any signs of, passing
Twitching
him
on the
around.
ground is usually a pretty bad sign.
No, he wasn't he? Oh, okay. I think there was that one moment. But regardless, what I'm trying to say basically is that I think that they couldn't I don't think that they assumed that other players would
Why
also.
wouldn't they? Why wouldn't you take that step though? Like you
But also
see
keep in
someone go
mind,
down and you're like,
yeah, and also keep in mind that I do know this, that before and after every single challenge, they do check the player's temperature, they check their blood levels, they give them water. I'm not I think they have to drink. They have to drink a certain amount of water they provide or something like that. Anyways, what I'm trying to say basically is I think that they assumed that they could go ahead and finish the challenge since it seemed like it was going to end somewhat soon. Then check all the players and then take action appropriately. It was just because, and then of
I
course.
mean,
All right, we're going to move on to final statements. All right, so just your final quick points of why they should have done what you were suggesting. So we'll start with Rylis, Ryan G, and then Kyle.
Yeah, so to back up my original point, I think that they need to not do challenges in that hot weather that have consistent long amounts of time of exertion. I think that they handled it somewhat well. I don't think that they should have canceled it after Debbie fell. I'm losing my voice. I think that what are my other points, got? Don't know if I'm winning this
on to
point.
Ryan G.
Yeah,
On to Ryan G.
Hey.
They can have a point. Go ahead.
Okay. It's so nice of you,
because-
giving to charity.
Make
Ryan
it a
G.
fun competition.
Now that I've been given permission. Okay. All right. No. I think for the most part, you and I do have a very similar argument in regards to the fact that we just about the challenge should not have been run at the time. My standpoint, it's not necessarily that I don't believe that I agree with the idea that once Debbie passed out, they should have passed out. They should have stopped. On virtue of the fact is, once that happens, they should be very well aware that it could happen again to the other two tribes, especially as they're still going on. My only concern is that I believe that it should have occurred earlier. And while I do agree that there is evidence, you are right, that they have moved challenges, especially with weather a factor. And I do believe that they could have easily just waited for this challenge to occur on a day with a lower heat scale, when it's more cloudy, maybe later in the evening. They have the technology for it, and they have the capabilities to do it. They have all the space to actually work with other challenges. I just believe that this is something that could have been avoided just by moving the challenge further, if they want to actually, save the money of keeping it.
Okay.
All right, Kyle.
Basically, the way I see it is that they didn't expect this challenge to go 45 minutes in the first place. So they were like, "Oh, this will be a quick challenge. I mean, it's just digging some balls out of the sand. We're only going to bury the balls 3 or 4 feet." Like the balls were never that deep in the sand. It just took them a long time to, like you said, it's a long process. It's hard. It's excruciating to be in that sun. They didn't expect it to go that long. So of course they're going to run the challenge like, "Oh, this will be over and done with pretty quick." But once somebody drops, once somebody hits the freaking deck, you have to, as a responsible person, stop everyone and be like, "Hey, somebody just dropped here. We don't know why, or we do know why, but someone's down. We need to help them. You guys," when I'm on a job site, I'm going to take this to my job site. I'm running power saw and heavy equipment and stuff like that. And if somebody goes down in my job site, we call medic, medic, medic. When the medic, medic, medic is called, every single person on that job site within that range has to stop what they're doing immediately and check in to make sure that they have stopped what they're doing, just in case somebody else goes down, because there's only 1 or 2 medics on site and they have to be able to respond to certain people. So if you're going to go down in a challenge and there's limited medical supply, because yes, there was 1,000 people running in and out of that scene. How many of them are doctors other than freaking Obama? Maybe 2. So they're coming in there, and they're not going to be able to help every single person. You've seen Sydney was over there being helped by Jason Kyle. That medical doctor was too busy with Caleb to help her. What if she went down like Caleb was going down? Then you got 2 people on a helicopter. Someone's going to die. You've got to stop that challenge when Debbie goes down, because that's when it's time to stop the challenge.
All right. Since Ryan Leesman donated this point to one of you two, he's out of it. You guys, the difficult one with this one is that they're not necessarily in conflict with each other. And I think ultimately what it comes down to is that, Ryan, you agree with Kyle's point that, once they've done the challenge, that should have happened. I think that just gave it a slight edge, very slight, above yours. So, Kyle, you get the point.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right.
Congrats. Yeah, I agree. That is something they should have done. I just think it should have been earlier. But
when shit goes wrong, don't let it go wrong.
Yeah, and that is how they.
So, let's move on.
If this season goes south, sorry.
No, go for it, Ryan. If this season goes south.
I was gonna say if this season goes south, and season go wrong.
All right. Let's go with question number 4, taking a very big turn. What is the funniest moment from Survivor Borneo? So, a lot of great moments from Survivor Borneo, some sad, some happy, some dramatic. We're going for the funniest moment of all of Survivor Borneo. We will start with Kyle, then go to Ryan G, and then Rylis.
When it comes to Survivor Borneo, I like to think of one character in particular as my favorite, and that is the great Greg Buse. And the moment that really made me really love him was when he gets that video from his sister, and the whole time they're just making incestual jokes with each other. And, like, you're just sitting there like, really, is he really talking like that about his sister in front of everyone? And, like, he's the only one who gets the video, so it's like, everyone has to gather around and watch him and his sister make incestual jokes with each other. And Rudy's just like sitting there like, oh my God, really? Is he? I don't know about this. And it's just, the whole scene, it just screams funny to me because, like, who does that? Who does that? And the funniest part isn't so much that Greg's making the jokes. It's the fact that his sister is completely aware with it. And it's like they do it every day. Like, they're constantly, like, holding hands or, like, just being incestual. And to me, that's funny. That's funny. That's gold. That's TV gold. I mean, you got Rudy there watching it too. Like, that's gold.
All right, Ryan G.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, Borneo is filled with moments like that, like little moments, just straight up gold and humor. When it comes to me actually coming up with like what I think is the funniest, though, I think it's actually more of a story arc rather than just a particular moment, and it is the alphabet voting strategy of Dr. Sean Kniff. Just how, in theory, it's weird too, because in Borneo, this really should be the only season where something like this would actually, possibly be taken seriously. And the way he explains this kind of well, like, I don't want to cross anyone, I don't want to make it seem like I'm being unfair, and a lot of the Pagongs are in the earlier alphabet. It makes sense. I'm not getting rid of people that I'm particularly, like, I was on the tribe with. In theory, this should not have turned into what it was, but just on regards to the fact that you get immediately after the Toggy 4 playing with it, and he starts voting out Greg. Oh, Greg's voted out. There were 4 people that voted with him. Jenna's voted out, and Jeff even plays with it too. J for Jenna. It becomes a thing that now they're playing with. And
Greg and his sister played with it a lot too.
No.
All right, no interrupting opening statements. Here we go.
No, but my logic behind with the alphabet strategy is that, again, it's turning into like all the castaways are knowing about. They're all openly talking about Sean Chris won, so he's out of the loop. Oh well, now it's like they're mocking him to his face. Oh, we're now starting with reverse alphabet. Oh, Sean, you're first. And then Jeff's comment J for Jenna. Then Sean just commenting, oh, if they do it one more time, and they're like, Sean, grow up. It's happened 3 times already. They've gotten 4 votes. Everything about it is just straight up comedic. And my parents, who really aren't that big Survivor fans, they don't really remember too many moments of a season. My mother remembers the only real thing she remembers from Borneo outside of Richard and Rudy is the guy who voted with the alphabet, and she will bring up to this day, how stupid can a person be? And that's how I know that's why I believe that it is the funniest moment of Borneo, and arguably one of the funniest moments in the series.
All right, Rylis.
Cool. My choice is Rudy in the Blair Witch Final Five challenge. I absolutely adore this moment. This moment will never make me fail to laugh. And the reason I absolutely love it is because of the dichotomy. Because I can just picture it now with the music. Because the music is what makes it funny to me. Because it's all like pretty serious. Everyone's like really running around and answering the questions and whatnot. And then you have like the music da 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 da. And then Rudy goes up there. And he does it like 4 times. He goes up there. He looks at the clue, like what happens when the survivors are voted out of tribal council, and then it's like a dramatic or like a comedic pause. I don't know, and then he just like keeps running off, and the music kind of like swells, and it kind of like.
Well,
I just love it. I just love it because it's supposed to be like this. It's supposed to be like, I think it's a really cool challenge, and it's supposed to be like pretty important. It's the final 5, and then you just have like Rudy. And what I love about it, and I think the funniest moments in general, but in Survivor, are when the contestants aren't meaning to be funny at all. I really don't think Rudy thought twice about it. I think he just legitimately could not give a fuck about these clues, like this things, and he just. So yeah, he just responded, I don't know, Yeah, that's a moment that will, and I think in addition to the events being funny, what I love about that moment, I think what sets it apart is you have the full entirety. You have the music, and you have the dichotomy of the other players taking it really seriously, like Kelly, she knows her life's on the line, everyone's running, and then you just have Rudy totally not caring at all and not knowing. I don't know.
What would have been great is if Rudy somehow got back first, and then we had to watch Jeff watching the video of Rudy just going at him.
Yeah, just like Jeff's like, what the hell is this? Like, what the heck am I supposed to do with this? Like,
well, the thing is, David, what's great is there was a video, and it was the Greg and his sister doing incestual jokes in front of the entire tribe.
Nicely did.
That'd be great. Yeah, like Jeff
got to watch that too.
Yeah, like Jeff's like, hey, give me your tape, and then he plays it, and it's like the like the whole like sexual thing, and he's like, what the fuck is this? Like, if that happened, I would absolutely lose it. Someone should edit that. Someone watching this right now, edit that so it happens. I'm not even.
Kelly's video is actually great.
Yeah, Kelly's video. Okay, Kelly.
Wow. So I guess.
It's like I don't know, sis.
Sounds like incest.
Oh, I think they're being all incest to me.
Sexual illusions with my sister. What's gonna happen?
Now I'm imagining Greg Buick's running the challenge in general, and I feel like we've been robbed.
Yeah,
like,
we were.
Why the hell is he voted up first juror? He should have made it. God damn it.
Yeah.
It was that darn alphabet strategy.
Yeah, I know. I mean, jurors want immunity. You're next up, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Cool. Is it open season?
Yep, open season. Go for it.
Again, like, we're laughing. Like, I fucking love Greg Buick's incest jokes. I love Rudy's I don't know. Why I would give the alphabet strategy a bit more of a lead, like a step above the other two, is just because it's maybe more than just a singular moment. The alphabet strategy affected the season and kept having multiple moments over and over again, just on virtue of the fact that the other people are reacting to him. Like, Sean, what the hell? Why are you still doing this? Why are you still denying this? And just the fact that everyone started playing with it. Oh, we're starting reverse alphabet now. It starts with Sean. Oh, it's J for Jenna. Everyone's aware of this. All the subtlety behind Sean's moments passes away. Like, it's literally just... It's more than a single moment. It affects the entire season.
You know what else everyone else
I'm
is
going.
aware of? Everyone else is aware of Greg and his sister making incestual comments towards each other the entire time that they watched that video. The tribe was watching them, and it's just, I just pictured Rudy's face in that confession. Was like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't know about them two. You know, it's
Yeah,
you know,
see,
I get that.
yeah, no good. What I would, and again, like kind of reiterating a point, but I really think
The
the reason,
alpha strategy, everyone kind of was a reason, and like, oh, and then like with Ryan's with the whole I don't know, that was kind of like only Rudy and the audience knew about that, whereas mine, like, it was in front for everybody to see, like the entire tribe, the audience, everyone got to see exactly like how weird Greg was, and it just like spoke to, like, the funniest character in that season is probably Rudy, but like Greg's a definite second, and the fact that like the entire tribe is there watching him do it, like it's not like him and Jeff like off in the corner, yeah, I'm just making some incest. It's like Rudy and Gretchen and Sue, or not Gretchen, sorry, but like Rudy and Sue are like, these old people are like watching this and are like so horrified by it. Like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Whereas
yeah,
like with like the I don't know, like, yeah, it's hilarious to us as an audience, but like if you were on that island, like if you were you know, Sue, you didn't get the joke. Like there was no joke there. It wasn't even funny to you because you were too busy doing your challenge. And like
yeah,
with the, go ahead.
yeah. I want to say, and see, for me, I think all three moments are funny, but I think that the other two, besides mine, I think the thing is and you guys have actually articulated this, is that it's more the reactions are what really is funnier than the moment itself. And in the alphabet strategy, really, that's a long, prolonged series of moments, as opposed to one. So I think it loses its impact in that regard, for me at least, compared to the other two. And I think what's great about mine is that it's the moment itself, it's the things that are recurring itself that are funny, and not just the moment itself, but also the music and the really funny camera angle and the uniqueness of the challenge, the way it's framed, the way it's shot. And I just think that in terms of editing, I think that that moment is perfectly edited. The comedic timing on that is absolutely superb. Even Rudy, who has, who definitely I don't think was trying to be funny, but his comedic pauses, he reads the thing and then pause. I don't know. It's perfect. It's perfect comedic timing, and I just think if you're going to talk about comedy in Borneo, I really think that moment encapsulates the genius not only of Survivor but of reality TV in general, of being able to take a moment that's really funny and then add all this extra stuff, the music and the camera and the editing and whatnot, and really make it absolutely hilarious.
I do mostly agree with.
You know who else had extra love for each other?
All right, what were you gonna say?
Back to your point about the alphabet strategy being like a group of moments. While I do agree with that, I think that actually works in its favor because each moment is subsequently getting funnier. Just because it's, again, like when the alphabet strategy is introduced, it's actually straight up, it's sold straight. It's great. It's Sean's voting confessional in the merge boot where he's like, Colleen, I love you, you're cute, you're sweet, you're funny, but you're the first person in the alphabet. And like, oh, okay, so that's what you're doing. And then it just goes on, just starts, like, with each time, like, oh, there may be doing something, but I have a strategy. And, like, everyone's just, like, the reaction, yes, it's maybe more so about focusing on the other people's reactions to it, but I think that doesn't change in the moment. It's everyone getting further and further more exasperated with it, to the point where Jenna's like, Sean, you're going to vote me out. No, I'm not. You're going to only get one vote, maybe 2 or 3 votes. Sean, I'm going to get voted out. Come on. J for Jenna. Like, it's just the prolonged exasperation along with just making it funnier and funnier over and all. And then Sean just kind of has to, like, oh, well, I done fucked up. Because he didn't even want Jenna to get voted out. That's the best part about it, though. He didn't actually want, like, at least from what he was saying in the episode. I think it just makes it funnier, especially just considering the fact that everyone just started playing with it.
All right, I'm going to cut off there. I'm going to do something a little unconventional. I think the funniest moment was the playing of the video with Greg and his sister.
I'm down. That I agree.
From the challenge. So I'm going to give Kyle and Rylis from both a point for combining the two together. Ryan G, the thing that got you is that as Riley's pointed out, is that yours is sort of multiple moments, and together collectively, I think you made a very good point of this. This sort of story arc is really funny and probably one of the funniest story arcs of Borneo. But as far as the funniest individual moment, I think the other two had you beat. So I'm gonna give both Kyle and Ryan Leeson a point because collectively I
Hello?
think you made the new funniest moment. Hello?
What?
Oh, sorry. I'm confused for some reason.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay.
Wait, I'm serious. Can someone please edit that like ASAP? Can someone please edit
Yeah.
Yeah, like they show the camera, everything plays normal, but then like they edit the camera and they insert the video. I will literally lose it. I will.
All right. So
What was that?
You want them to put the Jen Lewis video in there, or do you want to put like?
I want to see that.
No. Okay. We have one question left. Right now the score
I didn't
is...
get a closing argument. I didn't get a closing argument.
No, that
What?
was our closing argument.
Yeah, I cut off the closing argument. Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was.
You didn't get one. You got a point. Don't complain, Kyle.
Yeah,
Hey, yeah, you have a point. Don't complain.
So where we stand is Ryan Leeson, you have 3 points. Kyle, you have 2. Ryan G, you're currently at 0. But this last one could make all the difference. Either we could have a tie if Kyle wins, or it could be 4-3 or 4-2-0, or it could be 3-2-1. So let us go to our last question. It is, which survivor has the best hair on the island? We're going to start with Ryan G, go to Rylis, and then Kyle.
Okay. A lot of this stuff just comes to kind of personal taste, but I mean, just goddamn Malcolm Freeberg. Long hair. Well, I like long hair in a man. Yes. Yeah. You keep doing that. You keep doing that. No. I mean, in a general sense, you have long hair is in general sense like becoming a bit more of a thing for the casual fans. And you got like the people loving Ozzy for his hair, Malcolm, and then Joe. They always get compared a lot. I think overall, I think Malcolm has the best hair. I think it's very like stylized like differently. Like sometimes he'll just have it straight down. Sometimes he'll have it in a bun, ponytail. Sometimes, but regardless of whether it is, it's always on point. And I mean, it suits him. It suits his image. It suits him when he.
All right, if he comes back on,
sorry.
We'll let him finish. But let's.
What just happened?
Rylis.
It just totally froze. Okay, cool. I'll just go ahead.
Yeah.
My choice is Fabio from Survivor Nicaragua. The reason I chose that is because I think that not only is his hair awesome, I think that his hair actually serves, is pretty much the reason for his nickname, which is a huge, part of his character. So I think that it's twofold. I think that, it looks good, and it's also, it's memorable hair. You definitely remember it's a very unique hairstyle. It looks really good on him, and it is responsible for giving him his nickname. So I think that overall, it's my pick for best hair, and also it can, I think a lot of people's hair, it starts out looking good, ends up maybe not looking as good. I think that his hair was consistently looking good.
All right. So let's go to Kyle. Kyle, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Go for your opening statement.
I chose not only the best hair, in all of Survivor, but the best player, character, person, humanitarian, Willard, the great Willard. I love that you guys like the long hair. I really appreciate the long hair, the love for long hair, but bald is beautiful, my friends. Bald is beautiful. And when it comes to hair, I think facial hair is what really distinguishes a man. He's got that gray, distinguished, man beard going on that just extenuates him, and it just has. Like, you guys, the long, flowy hair. I got it. I get it. I got long hair. I understand the love for it, but like, bald is beautiful. Bald is beautiful, my friends, and that's all I have to say right now. Is when it comes to beauty, Willard, baldness, leader, these are just words that come to mind when I think of greatness and hair.
All right, a little unconventional approach. We'll see how it turns out. Ryan G, welcome back. Do you want to say anything more about Malcolm? You sort of froze there. Yeah.
I don't know what happened. Sorry. I mean, I could probably. I mean, like, I don't really have much else to kind of go on. I could probably just go on for a little bit, but I think it is kind of to the point. I think long hair is almost a standard now for Survivor attractiveness. Ozzy, then Malcolm, then Joe are all considered probably the most attractive men to ever really be on the show. Yeah. yeah. Like, no, like, and I'm not being completely ironic. I grew out my hair during Philippines because I really liked Malcolm's hair until everyone told me I should cut it because it didn't suit me. But
don't listen to the haters, my friend. There's a point in everyone's lifestyle when they're growing their hair out long, and there's just that point that's like right here, and everyone's like, you know what, you should cut your hair because it doesn't suit you. And you know what you tell those people? When your hair's that long, it doesn't suit anybody. You gotta wait. It's a patient process.
Yeah.
And I was glad.
All right.
So yes, I don't really have much else to add. I could just say I think Malcolm is a very good standard for both beautiful man and for beautiful hair.
All right. So we have Malcolm versus Fabio versus Willard.
Oh, Fabio.
Let the battle begin.
All right. Well, I'm far behind here, so I'm going to come out with guns blazing. Willard could easily have the best hair in the world. Simply if you wanted to draw something on him, little Charlie Brown, little marker on the hair. There's so many opportunities. Opportunities with Willard. And you can't draw, like, you got the beard, you got like just enough stubble, it's gray, it looks pretty good, like, he's got some body hair going on, that's all right. It suits him. Fabio's hair doesn't suit him. If he got his hair cut, he'd probably look a little better. And Malcolm, he just tries too hard with the long hair. Trust me, as a guy with long hair, I can tell when someone's trying too hard. Malcolm, he's trying too hard.
I guess to kind of go a little bit about Willard, the Google definition for bald, adjective, having a scalp wholly or partly lacking hair.
He's got hair. He's got hair right here. He's got hair on his chin. He's got hair under his armpits. There's hair everywhere on Willard, just not on the top of his head. There's nothing wrong with that. If he wanted my hair, I'd gladly give Willard my hair.
As another offhanded comment, well, yes, I do agree. Malcolm probably does try with his hair, but I mean, god damn.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's working. I think what really kind of sets it off, though, is I think his really suits him. And kind of this general idea, especially considering he seemed accustomed to Survivor as he was going on to it. So the idea of the hair, it really suited his personality. And
Willard's hair suited his personality.
Hey, Willard has a personality, though. That's
Willard. That's
Willard.
Willard's hair is Willard.
But Willard has a personality. I don't think that coincides with no hair.
Are you saying that, like his hair, Willard's personality is lacking?
Exactly.
Hey, anybody that lies about anyone that ever said the line "I have no living children" is not lacking in personality.
I think Willard is a good joke answer. I don't take it seriously at all. I don't think it has any. I don't think he really means that as the true answer.
I know.
So listen.
You're trying to claim that my answer isn't a joke. All right, let's break it down. Willard's beard and mustache is way better than yours. Thank you very much, sir. And secondly,
hey, no personal.
Whoa.
It's better than mine. His mustache and beard is better than everyone's on this panel. It's the greatest beard and mustache that's ever hit that island, and there's been a few. Don't get me wrong, Matt's is pretty good, but it's nothing compared to Willard's. And the baldness, like you talk about hair, his hair there, it's not completely bald. I mean, he's got a little stubble there. There's something was showing on day 16 when he got voted out. I mean, there's a little bit. If you ever felt like really long hair, you rub your hand on like long hair, it's like silky smooth and like really nice. Like, that's fine. But I like that rough edge, that you get like scrape like sandpaper, like that's the kind of hair.
Do you have a lot of experience?
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of experience rubbing bald men's head? Is that
Yes, I have plenty. Me and Willard have spent days rubbing each other's hair and thinking of who has better hair. And you know what? He wins, hands down.
I don't believe you for some reason. I don't know why. I mean, no, I think that. And here's the thing about Willard. You
don't have to believe it.
No, a knock against him is that if you're gonna be bald, be bald. But when you got the little, whatever you called it, whatever the leftover remnants.
He was on an Iron Man Survivor. He couldn't shave that. No one gets razors on Survivor. That's a bad call. You can't say that.
Regardless,
that's not fair.
I'm not blaming the guy, but what I am saying is he's trying to look like the immunity idol as much as possible, and when you get the extra hair...
No, the immunity idol tried to look like him. He was cast before the immunity idol. That's a well-known Survivor fact. We've all been over this. We all know that.
Well, it's either...
The immunity idol was made when he got there.
All right, I'm going to cut it off here. You have your final statements. Ryan G., then Rylis, and Kyle.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think Malcolm's hair is probably the best, just because in virtue of the fact that, well, besides the fact that apparently that's what the more inclined casual fans of Survivor seem to particularly like, the longer hair that kind of, I think it just suits him. I think it suits the kind of character he likes to play on Survivor, and the fact that I think he fits in naturally in the element of Survivor. And I think the long hair that he can kind of stylize a little bit into buns or to a ponytail, just way it long, I think it's suiting for him. I think it looks really well done. He obviously puts effort into it, and just because I hadn't mentioned it, I just had to Google Fabio's hair. Sorry.
Okay.
So that's kind of why I would give it the edge over Fabio's, is because I think Malcolm is partially known for his hair too, whereas I, again, had to actually just look up Fabio's hair on Google.
That's sad.
Right.
Fabio has way better hair.
All right, Ryan.
Okay, I'm going to do something unconventional. Because I have 3 points, Kyle has 2, and Ryan Gomez has 0, I'm actually going to forgo my chances and give my support to Ryan Gomez so he can get 1, making me the winner. This is my
strategy.
This is my version of Richard.
Fine.
This is like Richard stepping down in the final immunity challenge. This is what you got to do. I think that I agree with Ryan Gomez. I think that Malcolm's hair is extremely distinctive. It's extremely memorable. From people who don't even watch the show, I know people, will post pictures of him of how good looking he is, and also particularly his hair. And I think that, and also I think a really important point is the fact that you get 2 different styles. You get the all the way down, and you get the buns. You get some variety within the episodes. Willard, unfortunately, yeah, you know what? He's only stuck with baldness. He's kind of locked in there, and I think that the lack of variety, in addition to also Willard, if you're going to talk about memorableness, I think regardless of I think if we're going to talk about best hair,
Willard control a Hulk Hogan mullet.
Yeah, but here's the thing: Willard was only on 5 episodes of Palau. Malcolm was on probably like 20, 24 episodes.
That has nothing to do with his hair.
It does.
Nothing.
It does because
it has nothing to do with his hair. Absolutely nothing.
Yes, because we've seen lots of different. We've seen his hair. No, we've seen his hair a lot more. It's become a much more part of our brains. Like I think that the image of his hair is very memorable.
Willard had an idol made out of his hair.
I mean, you could take an offhand comment that Malcolm's hair, you could say, is bold and beautiful.
We are at closing statement, guys. No more debating. So let's go to Kyle. Your final statement, quick.
Okay. Basically, what I have to say about Malcolm's hair, because apparently we're not talking about Fabio's hair, is Malcolm's hair is in his way. If he's going to be on Survivor, he wants to be a monster in those challenges, and he's got the little thing there, and he would have won if he would have kept that. I bet you his hair got in his way a little bit when he was doing that, and it probably screwed him up, and it cost him some money. You know what? That'll never happen to Willard. That'll never happen to Willard. Willard's hair will never get in his way because it's perfect exactly where it is. Maybe it's only this big, maybe, but that's all he needs it to be. And he's got like the perfect beard, got some goatee, got some chest hair to make him look manly. We're talking hair here. We're not talking hair on someone's head. We're talking overall hair. And right now, Malcolm only has hair on his head. Willard is covered head to toe with hair. Maybe only this much. He's covered. And
All
I
right.
have to leave on one statement. I got to say one statement before I go. 3 words.
Okay.
Ball is beautiful.
Okay. All right. Here we go. We have some strategy from Ryan Leisman. I really am not considering your pro or con against either of the candidates, but I will eliminate you from the choice. So it came down to the arguments between Malcolm and Willard. Also, quick note. I just had the chance to meet Fabio this week, and he does not have long hair anymore. It is short. And
Just like Willard. Just like Willard. He's trying to be like
no,
Willard.
not like
Malcolm.
Willard. He still has hair.
He's trying to get closer to Willard than he is trying to get closer to Malcolm, which just shows that there's better hair to be had in Willard than there is in Malcolm.
Anyways.
Hey, but it's Bold and the Beautiful. Hey, that's thing.
We want more people. Love
All right, guys, I'm making my ruling here. All right, so I was looking at the different points. I think, Ryan, you made very good points about how he has very different styles, and he can do that, and it suits him very well. Kyle, I am not disagreeing with you that the bald is very becoming on him, and it is very beautiful on Willard. It came down to the question is which survivor has the best hair on the island. And I think you made the point at some point that he starts to get the hair back on the island, and that's not his fault, but it takes away from the beauty of his baldness, which means I have to give the point to Ryan G. and Malcolm.
But Ryan's hair gets in his way. Malcolm's hair gets in his way. And
fairness,
Willard has more hair.
What got in
more hair
way?
per person. There's more hair on Willard's body
What was
than
confirmed
there is
in
on Malcolm's body.
In fairness, what Malcolm confirmed is what got in his way in Philippines was his hands, not his hair.
All right, so that
You didn't
means
have
the
points
final
to make that
score.
point.
The final score is Ryan
I win.
Leeson with 3, Kyle with 2, and Ryan Gomez with 1. So
Yeah.
congratulations, Ryan
I
Leeson.
got a
You
point!
Yes,
I was
you did.
robbed.
Good
I was
job.
robbed. Willard is the king of hair on the island. You never
I'm
said
sorry.
hair on the head. You said hair. He has better hair all over his body than Malcolm ever will. And for the record,
All right.
this is, every once in a while you got to have a joke answer because this is supposed to be fun.
No, yes, you
I
made it
almost
very
did.
entertaining. And you were actually, for a joke answer, it was very close. You know, I didn't just throw it out.
I would have
But-
0 points for Willard. I'm just.
So, thank you guys so much for playing. Congratulations, Ryan Leisman. You are a new Survivor Showdown champion. I hope to have all of you back on in the future.
Do I win anything?
You win the satisfaction of a job well done.
Cool.
You win extended airtime of the next episode of Survivor Showdown
Nice.
as
Cool.
a returning player and winner.
Oh, do I come back next time?
No, you
Not
have to-
specifically next episode, but I would love to have you back on again as,
Oh yeah, make it
as
like
both
Jeopardy.
of you, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're all willing to come back at some point, I'd love to have you. So
Yeah, I'll Ken Jennings it.
Yeah.
I'll be more than glad to be the first third-time player.
So yes, thank you guys so much for coming on. Thank you everyone for watching and listening. We'll be back in next time for more Survivor debates and questions. So stay tuned for that. Before we leave, quick, is there anything you want to plug or promote? We'll start with Kyle.
Well, I'd just like to say if you are in the org community and you know about the org elections, to vote Kyle for org president. Vote Kyle, vote Stoner. And congratulations to Ryan Leisman for joining the Winner's Circle. It's a very illustrious group. We meet on Sundays for brunch.
I'll pass.
All right.
Ouch!
Wow.
Ryan Gomez, anything you want to plug or promote before we leave?
No. Just don't really have anything to promote. Just I had a good time here, even though I only got one fucking point. But thank you for having me, Phil, and I'm more than willing to come back if you ever need anybody.
Awesome. And our new Survivor Showdown champion, Rylis, anything you want to plug or promote?
Yeah, I don't want to promote anything. I just want to say the last name is pronounced Listman. I just wanted you to keep mispronouncing it the whole time.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
now I just feel like a jerk.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I could have told you.
Yeah, why didn't you tell me? No, you just made me look like an idiot this whole episode.
It's all good. No one cares.
Yeah, that who you want to be the winner? Yeah, should have gave me a tie.
Yeah.
I'm not reversing my decision, Kyle.
Yeah, I had a really good time. I do want to say someone needs to make that edit of the Greg sister video like right now. I really mean that.
Please.
And yeah, I can't wait to come back and win again. I'll try and come up with some unorthodox strategy because I like the idea of like I feel like this game it needs some innovative strategy, so I like it.
That's what the joke answer's for. I tried to see what the joke answer.
We need idols. We need idols.
Yeah,
An individual immunity idol to get a point.
I don't need that.
Yeah.
So
Alright, cool.
thank you guys so much for playing. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. We'll be back in the future for another episode of Survivor Showdown. Goodbye.
Later.